Wednesday, April 17th, 2019 at 7:01 p.m. Mr. Aho, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Mr. Solera?
Here.
Mr. Curtis?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Here.
And we are all here. If you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any changes to the agenda? All right. Moving on, welcome again. This is the meeting of the school board for Wednesday, April 17th, 2019. I'm Rob Felber. It's my pleasure again to serve as president of the school board. And big welcome tonight to the parents, teachers, and students from Wilcox Primary, George G. Dodge, and Twinsburg High School. I'm going to keep my report relatively short. And just to remind people to exercise their right to vote on May 7th, issue 5 on our ballot is a very important renewal levy. This levy is 8.5% of our operating costs, so that's quite dramatic out of our budget. And we're very pleased to have unanimous support from many organizations around, including the Dodge PTA, the Chamberlain Middle School, Twinsburg High School PTAs, all three of our municipalities in Reminderville, Twinsburg Township, Twinsburg City, the Northeast Ohio Education Association, the Twinsburg Athletic Boosters, the Twinsburg Band Boosters, and the Twinsburg Council PTA, as well as the Twinsburg Education Association, and many of the again of the PTAs, and both of our employee associations. Again, the teachers union and the Twinsburg support staff. So please again exercise your right to vote. I know it's May, and if the weather's nice, it's easy to forget. But please, it's important to come out and support the Twinsburg City Schools. There's a lot of other exciting news, but I'm going to defer to Superintendent Powers for your report and then my report, so not to steal your thunder.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Felber. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see everyone here this evening. We have a lot of great things to celebrate, and a couple of things I'd like to mention that are also celebrations from the last 2 weeks here in the school district. Mr. Felber, just to add to your list, we also appreciate the Twinsburg Schools Foundation and the Twinsburg Chamber of Commerce for their support of formally endorsing the levy. It has been a community effort, and I am just so excited and delighted for the support that the adults in our community offer the students, because without that support we cannot possibly have as many wonderful programs and opportunities for our students. So we thank all of the organizations who have so graciously formally endorsed issue 5, which is the district's $4 million renewal levy on the May 7th ballot. So thank you very much for all of your support. Board of Education, just a couple of things that I'm very excited about. First of all, there were 2 media releases that happened within the last 24 hours. So it's been a really exciting, crazy, happy place here. The first is we heard from the Ohio Association of Elementary School Administrators that Mr. Scott Asti, who is someplace here, way back in the back, has been named the Ohio Assistant Principal of the Year. That is huge kudos to the hard work and the diligence, his leadership, and his collaborative efforts with Ms. Villa. They are a dynamic duo at our primary school, and our Wilcox rocks because of them, and we are so excited for Mr. Asti. And Board of Education, the Ohio Association of Elementary School Administrators would like to come on May 1st, your next board meeting, to formally recognize Mr. Asti, and so we will have a big celebration at the next board meeting with your approval to celebrate him and all of his efforts and the fact that he represents us in his world of educational professional organizations, and he will be having many opportunities now for professional development, not only in the state but out of the state as well as Ohio's representative. That is a pretty big deal. So congratulations to Mr. Asti. Also, today's big news was talking about mathematics, and we are so delighted that 2 of our finest math teachers, that would be Mr. Mike Parenchek and Mrs. Dina Sarka from the middle school, have been awarded Outstanding Classroom Teacher Awards from the Greater Cleveland Council of Teachers of Mathematics. That is a tremendous feather in their cap. But what that means to us in our community is that we have the very best educators here in the Twinsburg City School District, and it's just so awesome that an organization with that much professional collateral is recognizing 2 of our teachers as the very best in the greater Cleveland area. So we congratulate Mr. Princhek and Mrs. Sarka, and we hope to celebrate them also at an upcoming Board of Education meeting. So thank you for all their efforts as well. Let's give them a round of applause. So last night was the beginning of the annual awards season here in the Twinsburg City School District. And as I sat over at the high school auditorium with the RBC Honors Corps program, I thought the Academy Awards had nothing on us. We had 172 students that were inducted last night into the RBC Honors Corps. And Mr. Reese and Mrs. Moore and the staff there were just so very proud of all of those students that have really done outstanding work with cumulative GPA of 3.5 or higher, involved in community service, have had the recommendation of their teachers, and they wrote essays about success and what does it mean to be a successful person, and was really proud to sit back and listen to 172 semi-essays. They weren't all read last night. And just watching the kids cross the stage, the best part for me, Board of Education, is recognizing them when they come in the door, 7th graders, and then seeing them now as exiting 8th graders and how much they've grown and matured. Really special time at the middle school. So we are off to the races with all of our awards programs, and really a great time to celebrate kids and all the great things that they do and all the wonderful people that they are here in our Twinsburg school. So we look forward to much more celebration happening here in our school district. Speaking about celebration, earlier today I stopped over at kindergarten registration and I welcomed some of the kids in the class of 2032. They are the incoming kindergarten children, and they were just so excited to be here today. They had some kindergarten screening going on, and the parents were welcomed, and registration happened. And Board of Education, I wanted to tell you that the parents that I talked to today at registration, whose children are currently in our kindergarten and preparatory program, the new preschool program, as well as the IPP program, wanted me to tell you how much they appreciate the opportunity for their kids, and that you're getting them on the road to learning so much earlier and in such a fantastic way. So they sought me out at the registration earlier today, and I thought that was a pretty cool thing, so I wanted to make sure that you understood that your work here is very much appreciated by the parents of all of our kids, and today we heard it just from our preschool children and their parents. Saturday, May 11th, we'll be here in a minute. I know it's only April, but we plan ahead here in the district. And that is the morning of the Tiger Spirit Run, Twinsburg Tiger Spirit Run. It's at 10 o'clock at Tiger Stadium, and this is hosted by the Twinsburg's District Wellness Committee. Mr. Mark Bindis is one of our administrators. He's our food service supervisor, and he and his staff and our PE and our health teachers in particular have planning a morning of fitness and fun. And so if you go on our Flyer Central link off of the district website and find the registration information, we encourage you to register early and participate and come on out. It's May 11th, so we hope that it doesn't snow this year. Every year it snows. Probably May 11th it won't. But it should be a great morning, so we encourage all of our parents to come out and participate. And then Board of Education, back to a more serious matter. You know that this second semester of the year, all of the members of our staff at all 5 of our buildings, as well as our transportation department, have been engaged in a book study. And the book study has talked about trauma in students and how we can be responsive to helping kids who have had traumatic incidents occur in their lives deal with the trauma and then also be able to be successful in school. And so it has been a wonderful spring of engaging our staff members in the conversation about how we can help children do better who have experienced those kinds of circumstances. But now it's time to turn some of that effort to help our parents know a little bit more about trauma and how they can help their children at home accelerate and be on the track to learning. So on Thursday, May 9th, at 6 o'clock p.m., we're going to have a program called Healthy, Happy, and Whole, an introduction to trauma and how it impacts our students' lives. And from 6 to 6:30 for our parents and for their children, there will be a pizza and pasta dinner. And then at 6:30, we'll begin the presentation by Melissa McCain, and she was the presenter at our professional development opportunity back in the winter that was just so well received by our staff. She is an employee of the Akron Children's Hospital, and is quite an expert in trauma and how our families can first identify traumatic situations and what they can do to help their children get beyond trauma in their lives. So if you're interested, we will soon have a flyer on Flyer Central. We're working on finalizing it today that will have a link. And parents, if you're coming, walk-ins are welcome for the presentation at 6:30, but if you'd like to have some pizza and pasta, we're asking that if you would please RSVP. And also if you need some child care, we need to know that in advance so that we have enough help with that as well. So we're hoping that you'll come out and join us. That is Thursday, May 9th, beginning at 6 o'clock for a bite to eat, and then 6:30 for the presentation by Melissa McLean. And I can tell you, we've had 2 rock star presenters this year. She and then Marcia Kish talked to our staff about blended learning. And so our curriculum department has done a fantastic job with Pupil Services Department in really bringing in excellent professional development this year. But Melissa McLean hit it out of the ballpark with talking about trauma. So I really do hope our parents come out. If you can afford some time to join us, we do encourage you to be here. So thank you for that. And then finally, and boys and girls, I know I don't have to remind you about this, but I will anyhow. We don't have school this Friday, right? And we don't have school Monday and Tuesday. It is the spring holiday break weekend. And so the teachers have to come back to school Tuesday, but you get one more day off. And so then all the boys and girls are back to school on Wednesday, April 24th. So it's going to be a nice long holiday weekend. We wish everyone the very happiest of holidays, whatever you're celebrating this long weekend. Maybe you're just staying home and cutting your grass. That's good too. But we really do hope that you have a good weekend with your family. And so that's all I have to report for this evening. I know that we have students here that want to celebrate all the great things they're doing, so I'd like to ask Ms. Villa and Mr. Esty to please come forward, and we're going to start celebrating some Wilcox Primary School students who really rock. And I think Mrs. DeFabio is going to help with the awards today, too.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. Good evening, Board of Education.
Good evening.
Mrs. Boutros is joining us, too. She rocks. We really do rock. We dance all the time at school. I know, yes. And Mr. Asty, too. He's got the purple going on, too. So. Well, good evening, everyone. It is our pleasure every month to be able to recognize some of our Wilcox Rock students. Every morning, the students say a pledge and they talk about being responsible, being respectful, being caring, and being safe. And all of the children are going to meet tonight do all of those things. And then we get the added bonus of listening to Mr. Asty tell us a little bit about why their teachers rock, and that's always so fun. So, boys and girls, when we call you up, we're going to come on up, and I'm going to help you shake some hands, and then we're going to line up here and put our biggest smile on, okay? So I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Asty so he can read, and then I'll find you when you come up here. We'll shake hands, give me a big hug. You shake their hands, but give me a hug. And then we'll line up. Okay, Mr. Asty, you're up.
Thank you, Ms. Villa, Ms. Powers, Board of Education, community. First up, I will call a student's name and then their teacher, and I would like both the student and the teacher to come up to be recognized. So first up we have Evan Reinhardt in Mrs. Fink's class. Come on up, Evan. So Mrs. Fink says that Evan is a great student and a wonderful role model to his friends. He is always willing to help others when they need it. He continually puts best foot forward to give his best effort to complete his schoolwork. He's motivated and a hard worker, unselfish and caring, and a true Wilcox star. And Evan says that Mrs. Fink rocks because she is always nice and also funny, especially whenever she dances. At the beginning of the year, Evan was not able to answer a question on a test, and Mrs. Fink told him just to skip it. She teaches her students addition and subtraction and other easy stuff. And Evan says that he will miss Mrs. Fink in second grade. Next up is Audie Shaw in Mrs. Knisley's class. Come on up, guys. Mrs. Knisley is excited to choose Audie as her Wilcox Rock student this month. He is kind, caring, responsible student each and every day in the classroom. He always gives his best in whatever subject they're working on throughout the day. He loves to learn new things and loves a new challenge. And he is a great friend to others in class. And he says that Mrs. Knisley is always so nice, kind, gives fun activities, and does things for her students. When her students struggle with a big new word, she tells them what it is. Audie says that he'll miss Mrs. Knisley when he goes on to second grade, and Mrs. Knisley rocks. Next is Brielle Townsend in Mr. Scalero's class. Mr. Scalero says that there are many reasons why Brielle deserves this award. She's a very hard worker, eager to participate in class, a good friend, and goes above and beyond to help others, and eager to always do her best. Mr. Scalero's favorite reason for nominating Brielle is that she comes to school every day with a great attitude and big smile on her face. And she says that Mr. Scalero is always so nice because he gives his students pennies and compliments then when they struggle with their work. One time, Brielle was struggling with a hard word, and Mr. Scalero just said, "Tap it out," and she got it right. Mr. Scalero rocks. And it's also Brielle's birthday today, so happy birthday, Brielle. Our next student is Olivia Delaney in Mrs. Scalero's class. Come on up, Olivia. And Mrs. Scalero was not able to be here this evening, but Mr. Scalero and Miss Villa are stepping in for her. But Mrs. Scalero says that Olivia comes to school every day ready to learn. She is an excellent listener and always follows directions. She loves to participate and does her best on all her work. She is an example of an excellent first grade student, and Mrs. Scalero is so happy that she is in her class this year, and she looks forward to watching her grow each and every day. And she said that Mrs. Scalero is so kind and teaches her students so much stuff that they didn't know before. She is also funny when she dances on Dance Party Friday. Our next student is London Smiley, and she was nominated. She is also in Miss Scalero's class, but she was nominated by Miss Miller. And if Miss Miller and Mrs. Sloan could come on up, or just Miss Miller? Miss Miller says that London is a first grade student in Mrs. Scalero's class. She is a hard worker who has been pushing herself to learn as much as she can. She has been introduced to new learning materials in the last few weeks and has given it her best work. She is always willing to lend a helping hand to other students and often will ask the teachers what she can do to help. She is constantly giving compliments out to students and teachers all around her. And she said that Miss Miller makes Wilcox rock. She is always so helpful and has taught London how to learn colors, shapes, numbers, and letters. Whenever London struggles with learning something new, both Miss Miller, Mrs. Scalero, and Mrs. Sloan and Mrs. Detweiler help her out. Our next student is a kindergartner, Ethan Weber, in Miss DeCola's class. Come on up, Ethan. Miss DeCola says that Ethan is a role model for his peers. He is respectful, helpful, and always kind to others. He tries his best, and he is becoming a great problem solver, too. Ethan is an amazing kid, and he said that Miss DeCola is always really nice and helps her students when they need help. The best day of school was Dalmatian Day, which was the 101st day of school. Whenever her students are reading and they don't know a word, she helps them by having them sound it out. Miss DeCola rocks. Next, we have Ava Austin in Mrs. Lowe's class. Mrs. Lowe says Ava is a wonderful student. She always follows the classroom rules and always does her best work. She is kind and helpful to her classmates and is a great helper. She loves math and is becoming a great reader. Mrs. Lowe is so happy to have Ava in class this year. And she said that Mrs. Lowe is the nicest teacher because she always gives hugs, helps her students, and teaches them new things. One time, Ava was struggling with her shapes, and Mrs. Lowe showed her what to do. Mrs. Lowe rocks. And our final student this evening is Joshua Schaefer in Mrs. Farrow and Mrs. Bender's classroom. Come on up, guys. Joshua loves learning and exploring and shares what he knows through his play. He has made great friends in school and uses his words to talk with them and problem solve so that everyone gets along. Joshua has demonstrated tremendous growth, and his teachers are so proud of him. And he does his best, no matter what challenge is in front of him. Joshua loves making his friends and teachers smile and shows that he is always thinking of others, even in the smallest ways. And Joshua said that he has had a great year with Mrs. Farrow and Mrs. Bender. They always help him learn and grow. He has learned letters, numbers, shapes, and now he can count to 30. They have also helped him learn how to calm down by taking breaths or a timeout. Mrs. Farrow and Mrs. Bender make Wilcox rock. And if at this time I could have all the students and teachers hold up their certificates in front of them, just like this, facing out. Not in front of your faces, though, because you're going to want to put on a nice big smile for mom and dad so they could get a good picture. Now, if I could have one more big round of applause for our Wilcox Rock participants. All right, you guys can have a seat, and we'll stick around because I know we have some more exciting students to recognize from Dodge.
Board of Education, as you can see, our friends at Dodge have been quite busy with a project that we're going to hear about this evening. It takes many hands at Dodge to make many great things happen. Good evening, Mr. Holland.
Good evening. So good evening, everybody. As we come into one of the last opportunities we have to share, we kind of wanted to just be able to close out the school year with some of the great things that were happening. And so I'm not going to again steal our students' thunders because they have worked really hard to prepare for tonight. But as we kind of go through it, I'll just give you an opportunity to see kind of the highlights of the school year. So I will turn this over to our 6th grade student council officers.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michaela Corrigan, and I'm a 6th grade student council representative at George G. Dodge Intermediate School. Tonight, we were going to give you some highlights from our Year of Kindness, in continuation of last year, our Year of Wonder. We begin this year with 1 million Act of Kindness bus presentation. Throughout the year, Student Council has been sharing acts of kindness through locker decorations and continuous words of encouragement. We kick off our 14-week Random Act of Kindness Challenge on World Kindness Day in November. This challenge encourages all students to show kindness to our school, our community, our world, and ourselves. This challenge included Random Act of Kindness Week in February. Student Council created encouraging letters and notes for students during testing week and have a small handmade gift for teachers in May for Teacher Appreciation Week.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deep Kamal Gill, and I am a 6th grade student council representative for George G. Dodge Intermediate School. In January, we were fortunate enough to have the Rachel's Challenge Assembly, which stressed the importance of supporting each other in all aspects of life. This presentation talked about the chain reaction that happens when we show kindness to just one person. Our school began our Chain Links Challenge. A student is given a link when they perform an act of kindness. Together, those links form a chain in each classroom. At the end of the year, we will be combining all our chain links and wrap around our school. Today, we challenge you to spread kindness in our community. We'll give you each a link to start your own chain reaction and make Twinsburg the best community.
So I do want to give our parents that are here an opportunity to take a picture with our student council representatives. But what I really want to reemphasize what our student council representatives said. You all, each person, our board members and everyone in the audience is going to receive a link similar to the one that you see to your right. The link to the right is one classroom's partial link. that they have started to put together acts of kindness. This is where students see other students doing acts of kindness. Teachers see other students doing acts of kindness. And so all of the opportunities that kids are doing to really show and really involve themselves in a kindness movement is what you see. And so our goal is to continue to link not only this one classroom, but all of our classrooms and be able to create a chain link around our school. It's a chain link that protects us from all the negativity in the world. And so this one classroom that represents all the greatness that our students are doing. So I'm really proud of what we're doing here, and as we continue to grow, we hope that you will get an opportunity to see our chain links continue to grow. So at this time, I know that we're going to be bringing up the high school, but I would like also to give an opportunity for each of you all to receive a link. Guys, can you start with our board members and our...
Thanks, Michaela.
Thank you.
And I also want to make sure I thank our central office folks for holding up the chain and helping us demonstrate. And so as we continue on, we will invite the high school up to start their presentation, but our students will quickly give out links of kindness as we move on.
All right, well, we thank Mr. Holland and Mrs. Huggins and Ms. Walker and our wonderful representatives from the George G. Dodge Intermediate School Student Council. It has been a year of kindness, especially at Dodge, and this whole Rachel Challenge idea was actually launched by Dr. Hebert at the high school. So Dr. Hebert, when you come up, if you can just say a little bit about Rachel's Challenge and why this was an important initiative that you brought all the way from Virginia to the Twinsburg City Schools, and why it's an important thing that we're doing not only at Dodge but also at the high school.
Good evening. So I don't know if many of you know who Rachel is when we speak about Rachel's Challenge, and especially this week, it's probably the most poignant time to actually be speaking about it. Rachel was the first child killed, the first person killed at the Columbine school shooting in 1999. And her family has put together a foundation based on Rachel's diary, in which she talks about the challenges that she has and how we should build intentional chain reactions of kindness amongst ourselves, how we should sit at the table with kids who maybe sit alone, how we should talk to kids who maybe walk the halls by themselves, who you never know what baggage that child might have at home that day, what's causing them to be mad or sad. And so we, at the high school, we hosted Rachel's Challenge, and we invited Mr. Holland to come up with some of his teachers, and a couple students, I think, actually attended. And they were so impressed by it or impacted by it that they actually brought their students back to the high school for a second Rachel's Challenge presentation. We also had a community event that same night that we showed, or had the Rachel's Challenge presentation, where the parents were given sort of a recap, a summary of what that whole movement was about. Our students have started what we call the Friends of Rachel's Club, and it's small but mighty, and we also celebrated Kindness Week and put together our own kindness chain. Although I will say, Dodge Intermediate, it's pretty impressive. If that's one classroom, I can't wait till you get to high school. So that was pretty impressive. Is that kind of what you were looking for? Okay, sure. All right, so tonight I'm excited because I'm here to present one of the last times, I guess, actually, that we present about what's happening at the high school. We do what's called a AAA bond rating, like academics, athletics, and the all-around. And tonight my academic and my athletic is kind of rolled into one and not here because it's Mr. Porinchak. So Mr. Porinchak, as you heard earlier today, was named the Greater Cleveland Council of Mathematics Teachers outstanding classroom teacher. He teaches AP Statistics and honors pre-calc and trig. And his kids love him. And he is innovative, creative, passionate about his subject, compassionate about his kids. So we couldn't be happier that he was given this recognition. So that was kind of my academics. Well, as fate would have it, he's also the tennis coach, who is out on the tennis courts tonight. And I'm happy to say, because you guys got to know, when I was teaching and coaching back in the day, I coached field hockey at Bexley High School. And we lost in the state finals 2-1. Not that I remember much about the 1980s. 2-1 on a freak shot by a girl from Hudson High School. So we lost in the state finals to Hudson High School. But tonight, our men's tennis team beat Hudson 4-1. And that is an incredibly huge win. So he made sure to tweet that out. So we're winning. Beating Hudson's always good. But beating Hudson in tennis, I think here in this area, is even better. And also, our baseball team continues, and they are now 13-1, with an opportunity to beat Wadsworth next week. So our spring sports are looking pretty good. So finally, the all-around, this is our last opportunity to recognize our students. And we have done Student of the Month every month, but this is our kind of culminating Student of the Year. And these students have been nominated throughout the year, and this last time nominated by more than one teacher. One student, a 10th grader, is our underclass Student of the Year, and Sophie couldn't be here tonight because she has to work. Sophie, the teachers wrote that Sophie has pride in her work regarding every class. She's helpful, compassionate towards her fellow classmates, and she takes time every day to speak with students who might not always interact with others. So taking Rachel's challenge and putting it into action. She's one of the top performing students in every class that she takes, works hard, doesn't care if she has to ask for help because advocating for yourself is important. Great personality, friendly, and helpful. So that's Sophie. But tonight what we have with us is one of our graduating seniors, which kind of makes me sad. This is my first year here, and so I've kind of bonded with the seniors in a weird way, because usually seniors kind of put their nose up to something new. You know, they're like, oh no, I want it the way it was. But this senior class has been very welcoming, has been awesome. And so our upper class Student of the Year is Anna Thomas. So Anna, you want to come up? So now I'm going to make her stand up here while I read about her. So we have we've got the cuteness quotient tonight, as you can see. So Anna is an amazing person and an amazing student. This is multiple teachers. In fact, this child got more recommendations from more teachers than any student this year. She's unbelievably kind, always is present with a smile and a good morning. In addition, she is the top scorer in physics, which I have an engineering degree. Having the top score in physics is pretty impressive. Huh? It's a tough class. Say the word physics, that's tough. All right. Top score in physics and in many of the other classes, which is no surprise, as she is the most organized and prepared student that roams the halls at Twinsburg High School. That's pretty impressive. So tonight we just want to recognize your hard work all 4 years and wish you good luck next year. Where are you going to go to college? Gannon and Erie. And what are you going to major in?
Accelerated.
See what I'm talking about? Accelerated pre-vet program.
Accelerated.
Congratulations, Anna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hebert. I can honestly say we can hardly wait for commencement. It should be really great. And it's going to be here in a minute, and I know our class of 2019 is excited about finishing up in a huge way and getting ready for all of the end of the year festivities. So congratulations to Dr. Hebert upon almost the completion of 1 year, almost. Got a ways to go. And congratulations to all of our students this evening. It's always a delight to see this particular group, because we start with our preschoolers all the way up to kids in the 12th grade, and it's so much fun to see the progression and such wonderful things that happen here in our school district. So with that, Mr. Felber, my administrative report is concluded.
Thank you. We normally jump right over to committee reports, but this is an excellent time if dinner and homework and such. You're more than welcome to stay. We have a lot of business to conduct, but now's a good time if you'd like to exit. All right, we're going to move on to committee reports. wait a minute. It got loud all of a sudden.
I think that other door's locked. They can't get it open.
Is that why that door?
Oh.
It's locked.
That's why they're all funneling one.
There we go.
Now we can
Mark's
move on
got it
to
now.
committee reports. Do I have any committee reports from my colleagues?
Yeah, the Curriculum and Technology Committee met last Monday on the 8th, and just kind of go down the line what occurred. There were curriculum and district updates that were provided by Mrs. Parton as well as the superintendent around the summer reading camp planning that's underway. Final professional development of this year, which is going to be taking place, which the superintendent talked about. Ohio State testing, that's also underway. AP testing will begin in May. And the superintendent talked about the Cup-Patterson funding model that's also posted on the district website for any community members that are interested in learning more about that. Also, to check out the district calendar of events. And we got into the adoptions for curriculum. First was the adoption of Gold's Readable Library Series by Great Minds, grade 1. That was presented by Sue Wozniak. She was a reading teacher at Wilson Primary. The next is an adoption of Introduction to Programming course of study to revision at the high school, and that was presented by Donna Houston. And then there was an adoption of the Ohio Inspire Science textbook by McGraw-Hill, and that was presented by Michelle Loudon. And another adoption by a Science Fusion textbook by Hope Mifflin, Harcourt, and that was presented by Laura Schneiderman and Christina Zirach, and also Patty Spring. They all kind of co-presented on that, provided different aspects in terms of what what it offers as opposed to what we previously had. And then the last was the adoption of a microbiology introduction textbook, 13th edition by Pearson, and that was presented by Ms. Sarah Kmet, science teacher at Twinsburg High School. They also talked about the adoption of the summer reading and kind of what that entailed. Wilcox is going to be adding 300 minutes of listening and reading time. And with the Twinsburg High School, there's a few changes of titles that were previously approved. For 10th grade, Walk Across America and Intro to the Wild. 11th grade, Lord of the Flies. And college writing, Things Fall Apart by Kite Runner. So that was pretty much it. And what I found interesting with these curriculum meetings is that typically when we talk about science, it tends to be kind of dry and a little boring. That was not the case this time. I was actually very fascinated, not only at just how it was presented, but also kind of how excited the teachers were, with having the ability to have some curriculum that is very interactive, and really infusing technology, within the curriculum. So it's not like it was when I was going to school. We got this huge thick book, and you throw it in the book bag. A lot of what you access is online, and again, it's interactive. So you actually get to experience a lot of what you're learning, and I think that enhances the learning. I think it makes it fun. For change, science, fun. But anyway, I just felt very fortunate that we as a board and as a school district are able to offer and approve these resources for use in the classroom, because as in my profession, I visit a lot of classrooms around the state, and oftentimes you have districts that have textbooks that are out of date and don't have resources, current events and current resources available to them. We are very fortunate as a community to be able to allow our teachers to have the latest and the greatest, that they have the ability to vet curriculum and kick the tires and make recommendations to the curriculum committee for use in the classroom. So this isn't something that the committee says, okay, this is what we're going to do and this is what we're going to adopt. This is teacher driven, and so I was really happy to see the excitement in their eyes at the prospect that this would come to the board for approval, that they would have the ability to kind of use these resources for next year. So that concludes my report for the curriculum committee.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Any other committees for reports? All right. Administrative report, Mrs. Powers.
Yes, good evening again, Mr. Felber and the Board of Education. Tonight, we want to introduce to our community the summer program offerings that the school district will support for our Tigers, from our small kids all the way through the high school. And to do that this evening is our Director of Curriculum, Mrs. Farthing, and our Curriculum Supervisor, Mr. Potter. Good evening.
Good evening, Board of Education. Thank you for having us here this evening. This evening we are going to talk about the opportunities that we will be providing for some of our students. And as Mrs. Powers said, we're going to talk about the youngest learners through our high school students. With your support, we will be able to offer new credit courses at the high school, and this is in Algebra 1 and Geometry. We have offered these in the past. I would think that our seniors this year were the first class that took the option of doing this, and we will use these math courses for acceleration. So again, this is Algebra 1 and Geometry. If we have 7th graders who are interested in doing this, we are asking that those students schedule an appointment with their guidance counselor or school counselor, either Ms. Richards or Mrs. Wallace. And at that point in time, we will make sure that those students are eligible to take these courses. Some requirements that we will have to take these courses are that the students will have needed to earn an A or B in their previous math course that they have taken. And we will also be offering office hours, I would call them, for our students to take quizzes and tests online at the high school. And those dates for the courses will be June 10th through July 12th. The office hours will be from 8 to noon, and then where the session will be available from June 10th through July 12th. That, if you think about that, that's a compact amount of time to get the course done. So I think last year I said that this isn't for the faint of heart. So the students will have to be committed to working on that, and the quizzes and tests will have to be completed in person. But if the student, say they are finishing Unit 7 and they need to take the test on Unit 7, they can also move on to Unit 8, but then they will still have to go back and take the Unit 7 test. We will have the information available on the guidance website starting tomorrow, because we have had a lot of questions about this. So we are a few weeks earlier than normal with this presentation, but we have had a lot of families asking about this. The program is $325, and we are asking that families register by May 17th. We will need 20 students to enroll to make this run, and it's not 20 students in Algebra 1 and 20 students in Geometry. It's a total of 20 students. And the checks and information will be provided to Mrs. Bean-Heiss, the high school guidance secretary. And we will make the determination on the 17th if the course is able to run or not. Switching gears, but still sticking with the high school, we have the option for credit recovery for some of our students. Similar timeline is our deadline to sign up is June 7th. The program will run for 3 weeks from June 10th through the 28th. It will be Monday through Friday, 8 to noon, and the cost is $250 per credit hour. And we're asking that the students talk with their school counselor. There's stipulations about how many credits you can take and how many we think that the students can finish in that amount of time. So their school counselor has applications for that. This is not for everyone. This is for our students who are credit deficient. So I don't think this information will necessarily be on the website, but it will be available with the 4 counselors and Mrs. Bean-Heiss as well. Our next program that we would like to offer this summer is, well, we would actually not like to offer this one. This is Roar into Reading, and this is for our students that have not met the third grade guarantee requirements. So if we have some students who have not met fourth grade promotion, we will offer this program to them this summer. It will be 2 weeks of remediation, and then the students will be offered the OST for third grade English Language Arts again in July. Last year, we did not have to run this because all of our students were able to meet the qualifications to be promoted to fourth grade. So we're hoping that, again, not that we don't want to support our students, but we're hoping they all have met the requirements in advance. But if not, we have this in place. Students will be notified right around June 3rd if they are participating in this because we will receive the results on June 3rd. So we will let the families know as soon as possible. Now this one I'm not going to say, I hope we don't run. This is our summer reading camp. This is the one that is reading reinforcement for students in grades K through 4. Students are either on a RIMP, which is a reading improvement and monitoring plan, or they are in Title I. This will run for 3 weeks. Camp is held Monday through Friday from 9 to 11. It is going to be held this year at Dodge. We do provide transportation for our families. This also has visits to the Twinsburg Public Library, and information will be sent home if students are selected for this next week after the day-to-day on the 23rd. And we will invite approximately 25 students per grade level, and if we have some students who aren't able to attend because of vacations, then we go into the next available students for that. That's one of my favorite things that we do. And when we get our results back from our families, they are so incredibly thankful for that, and they're just amazed that we're providing the transportation for those students, and it really gives the students the jump start into the next school year. Also, we offer extended school year. The dates are July 23rd through August 8th from 8:30 to 11:30. Extended school year is for our students that are on an IEP, and this is based on an IEP team decision that the students need extended school year to help them so they're not regressing over the summer. So this is not just for all students on an IEP, but this is for students based on an IEP team decision, and extended school year is held at the high school. And there will be a session for elementary and the secondary students. All right, I will now turn it over to Mr. Potter, and he is going to talk about some summer options for the academy.
Good evening. We have quite a few offerings that are going to be part of the academy that all kids can take advantage of. I'm going to go in order by date. The first one that will be available through AHUJA, one of our partners in the academy, June 5th, 6th, and 7th is the anatomy physiology course. This is a 3-day course. The first 2 days are classroom work, very intensive, very, the people that are teaching are from the Case School of Medicine, so it's very deep. And the last day they spend at Case Western Reserve's cadaver lab, and they get to actually hold human body parts, good and bad, so they can compare the two. June 7th, we have a genetics camp put on by AHUJA. I have not seen that one yet, but from what I've been told, it's very intense also. We'd like to host a camp this year called the Solutions Camp. It's one that we decided we needed to make sure we diversify, because the AHUJA camps have been offered since day one. And since we're progressing each year, they're adding a new camp. So we wanted to make sure that we were covering other pathways, and this is the Solution Camp. The students will be, they'll pay $25 to be part of the camp for an entire week. And on the first day, they're going to come up with a concept of how to make people safer in a general area. And by the end of the week, they're going to be doing a promotion of how to sell the product. So it's a pretty intense, and we have quite a few partners that are involved with that one, from Kent State branch to an environmental studies group to some other helmet safety people. So it's going to be quite an interesting camp. June 12th and 13th is our first year medical camp. This one we've been doing, this will be our 3rd year involved with this one. And the students love this one because they have a cardiologist come in and speak, and they dissect the cow's heart. They have a pulmonologist speak, and then they'll dissect the cow lung. One year they did the brain surgeon and dissected the brain, and then we also had time to run the robotic machine, the Da Vinci robotic machine, to do microsurgery. AHUJA runs all those camps for free for our kids. I mean, they've been super with our kids out there. And the last one, June 20th, we approached Hiram College because we want to make sure the kids are understanding what college is like, and they have offered to put on a free camp for our kids. We are going to charge $25 for the transportation piece, but basically it's a one-day camp to introduce kids to college and what it would be like at a small college. They're going to basically sponsor the whole day, and at the end of the day, they're going to allow the parents to come out and pick up the children, but also get a tour of the campus and go through some FAFSA and financial meetings if they want to do that. So again, our partners have been tremendous. They have supported each one of these, and obviously we'd like your support too to move forward with these. It's been a great experience for our kids, and we also have another partner through the Right Board that offers quite a few free camps that our kids have taken advantage of, and we just got a posting for 3 more this week, so those will also be included in that package. Any questions on any of those? That's the 30,000
Very
for you.
complete.
Mr. Potter, can you just share with the board what happened over this weekend with one of our fine students in the academy?
Yes, Nikhil Prasad, who's been involved in the academy since day one and actually started a group called HOSA, which is the Future Health Educators of America. I know that those aren't the right letters, but that's what they call it. So he went down to the state competition for the HOSA group, and he placed 7th in medical math for the state of Ohio. And he was also elected as a state officer for HOSA. And because of that, he's been invited to travel to Orlando to represent Ohio at the international conference in June. He's an amazing, I spent the day with him, and he's an amazing student. He's prepared. He's going to be one of those kids you'll read about and we'll say, we knew him when. But he's a great kid, and his parents are fully supportive, and I can't say enough about how much they've meant to our program. So it's a great experience.
Wow.
No, he is a sophomore in the high school right now.
Okay, because they do host CBC.
They do. Nikhil started it here at Twinsburg, which I'm overseeing right now, and we had 22 kids sign up for it in the first year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, all done? All right, thank you, Mrs. Powers, and our curriculum team. Nice job as always. We're going to move on to G, remonstrance. And persons wishing to address the Board of Education should submit a blue card found in the lobby to the treasurer prior to the meeting so they may be recognized by the board president and welcome to make comment. No formal action will be taken on subjects that are not included on this agenda until the board has had an opportunity to study them. Comments regarding personnel must be submitted in writing through the office of the superintendent. Although there is adequate time for citizens to express themselves at board meeting, if there are several people wishing to speak, we will be allotting 5 minutes for a total of 30 minutes. And I do have one blue card. Do you have any others? Okay. So Kathy Archambault. Did I do that right? Close? Archambault. Okay. Welcome.
First of all, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to prepare better, because I just found out that this was a problem yesterday. When my son came home, told me that the schedule he'd been approved for, but it's no longer being offered. They were cutting out calculus, AP Calculus B and C, which is an important class if you want to get into certain colleges. I have an older daughter, and when she applied, that was one of the things they wanted to look at, was Calculus B and C, and they even wanted her AP scores to ensure, and luckily she had a 5, or else she would not have gotten into the University of Toronto, because they don't consider any less credit. So knocking that class out is going to eliminate some chances of getting into colleges. He's going to have to take calculus in college, which is going to cost, he's going to have to pay tuition for that. And I was never notified that this was going to happen, despite the fact that we had to put together I don't know if you're familiar with the process, we had to put together our what class he would take, and he'd have to have all the teachers sign off back in February, which he did and submitted in time. We got this, his approved schedule, which lists calculus, AP Calculus B and C, and we were told if any changes needed to be made, we had to submit it back by March 8th with a parent signature. So on our end, to make changes, their parent approval is needed. We got letters, just a general letter never lists, this is March 22nd, never lists that calculus might be dropped as an offering, but it does tell us that if we want to take the college credit classes at Kent or Akron, those applications need to be in by April 1st. So by waiting to tell me that calculus was being dropped, I've missed that deadline, and he no longer has the option of making it up that way. But, like I said, I just got notified of this yesterday. Had no clue that it was, any suggestion of it being dropped. Just Avery came home. And then I did contact Ms. Krajic, who's his guidance counselor, and she's explained that it was being dropped because too many kids were interested in taking it. So they just dropped it for everybody, which seems ridiculous to me because if you have a class that's popular, is necessary for certain colleges, why would that be the one you drop? And especially for scheduling, it seems like you would know how many slots you have or how many opportunities you have for these kids, how many teachers you have that can teach math, and you'd plan ahead before just waiting till schedules are completed to say, hey, we're not offering it, and we're not going to give you any substitute that's going to help you get it, further your career goals. Finally, and this is what kind of really made me mad, because then I started thinking, well, maybe I missed a notification, because I couldn't believe that I was not told. And other parents in my situation of kids, taking BC, who'd already been approved, already got their final schedule printed out, I thought maybe I missed a notification. And so I went through all the emails I got from, that Twinsburg Blackboard, Twinsburg schools. I did not miss a single notification. But at the same time, there was 2 notifications about Twinsburg soccer. And Ms. Powers spent a lot of time going to meetings and was very angry that she was not given a chance to present her side to the people investigating, but then sent us 2 emails and turned around and did the exact same thing to us, parents. And that's all I had to say. But I would like some action on this, because this should not happen. There should not be a chance where a kid, does all the work, has A's, in pre-calc, is prepared to take this, and all of a sudden doesn't get the opportunity because too many kids want to take it.
Thank you for that information. Okay, I do not have any other cards for remonstrance, so we're going to move on to Treasurer's Report and
Mr. Bell,
recommendations.
if I could just address that, please.
Absolutely.
So what happens when we're building the course loads at the high school and the middle school is, as the beginning of the calendar year hits us, the parents and the students have an opportunity to forecast their requested courses. And in our course selection documentation, we're careful in noting that classes run when there are adequate a number of students and if we have the adequate a number of staff members to support that. As Dr. Hebert is a new administrator with us, she has many new ideas, including the revision and the revamping of the academy. And so the students this year have had more options to consider. Actually, next Thursday will be the first opportunity that Mrs. Farthing and I will be sitting down with Dr. Hebert to discuss what classes will actually run next year at Twinsburg High School. And so all of the data is currently being collected and decisions will be made following the conversation that Mrs. Farthing and I will have with Dr. Hebert. And until that occurs, there is no definite decision about anything. Further, with all of the ideas that have been suggested by Dr. Hebert for additional coursework, we have to be very careful in making sure that there are adequate number of teachers to support that and also that the class loads are healthy enough to support classes moving forward. So I do appreciate what you're saying this evening. You're catching me off guard actually because I haven't even had the conversation with Dr. Hebert about what classes are running and what won't run, nor have I had the same class with any of the administrators. That usually happens this time of the year once the kids have had a chance to forecast and once we know what our staffing levels will look like for next year. So we'll be getting back in touch with you once we have a chance to meet with Dr. Hebert next Thursday, and Board of Education, as always, will keep you up to date with the information that we have.
So to paraphrase, it's No decisions have been made yet?
Not at this point, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, can I have one thing? Yes.
Normally, no, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Since there's not a line
Okay.
behind you.
Okay, yes, there is always, that thing, if there's no teachers available, they will reschedule. But they would normally reschedule into a class that the parents approve. You go through that form, you approve what your kid's gonna take. I did not have that opportunity. My child was slotted into a class I did not approve, okay? And that is what's considered to be a substitute. I had no say, I was not warned. Avery was not, my child's not warned at all, just, this is it. And he was given a new schedule today, and he was told it was final.
Well, I apologize if the communication is not proper. And we have to do our work. If we're not communicating well, then we have to improve that. But clearly, I will talk with Dr. Hebert tomorrow morning, and she'll give you a phone call to discuss the concerns. And we appreciate knowing that there's confusion, because if we didn't know, we can't adjust what we do here. So we do appreciate you coming up this evening and sharing issues that you're having with your son's schedule.
Thank you both of you for all that information. If nothing further on that, I'm going to move on to Treasurer's Report. Without objection from my colleagues, I'll read H1, 2, and 3 together. H1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following meeting minutes, regular meeting of April 3rd, 2019, as sent to the board under separate cover. H2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the following financial reports for the month of February 2019, Bank Reconciliation, General Fund, Financial Summary Report, and the Financial Report by Fund as sent to the board under separate cover. And finally, H3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the check register for the month of February 2019. The total, including payroll, is $4,366,289.87. Is there a motion for those three as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Slur. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Curtis. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Slura?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And those three items passed 5-0. Moving on to I, action items personnel. Again, without objection from my colleagues, I'll read I, 1, 2, and 3 together. I-1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the certificated licensed personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. I-2, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and/or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. And finally, I-3, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education accepts the supplemental contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Do I have a motion for I, 1, 2, and 3 as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. DeFabio. Any discussion? Mrs. Powers.
If I could, please, I would like to, Board of Education, just say a few things about the administrators who are being recommended this evening for contract renewal.
Absolutely.
I thank you. Board of Education, it is clearly an honor to work with this administrative team. We have educators in our classrooms, we have support staff that support what happens here every day, but the leadership of the school district is second to none. And this evening, it is my honor to recommend to you a number of the administrators whose contracts are up for renewal. And guys, I'm going to ask you to come forward. Too bad that we don't have certificates for you to hold up. But we would like the community to see who you are. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the great things that you do here every single day. So first of all, I'd like to ask Mr. Scott Asty to come forward. Board of Education, as you already heard, this week was just a tremendous week for Scott. His recognition now as the best assistant principal in the state of Ohio per the Ohio Association of Elementary School Administrators is clearly a feather in his cap, but it is a feather in your cap because you hired him. And so Scott has been here a number of years, and he supports what happens over at Wilcox Primary School. He is responsible for the day-to-day operations in collaboration with Ms. Villa, and Wilcox definitely does rock under his co-leadership with the principal. Thanks to Mr. Asty's efforts, this year our preschool expanded with our new KPP program. and that's the partner to IPP, and it really is getting our youngest Tigers on the right path to learning. Scott's intentional focus to create community partnerships has really done a great job for our school district with Summit Education Initiative, the Twinsburg Schools Foundation, the Twinsburg Public Library, and the list goes on and on. So he continues to seek opportunities to partner our school district with our community, and it means big dividends for the kids. And he's also a member of Mr. Sullen's Communications Action Team. So I present to you for recommendation this evening, Mr. Scott Asti. Second, we'd like to ask Mrs. Jennifer Farthing to come forward. Jen, as you know, is our Director of Curriculum, and we met last week to talk about this year, look back at the school year, and she brought her evidentiary binder, go figure, and it's just filled. She probably could have had 4 volumes of things that she has done just this year alone.
Somebody else I know does that.
Yeah, I know. So as you know, Mrs. Farthing is our Director of Curriculum, and anything that happens in any of our classrooms, Jen has touched it in some way or another. And so when you see kids like our friend Akil, who is off to do some great things with HOSA, or you see our preschool kids who are learning to count to 30, all of those things have to do with something that Jen has touched, and it's extraordinary. This year, her professional development efforts have been second to none. Every place I've been, the teachers and classified staff members are talking about professional development here in the Twinsburg City School District, from blended learning to trauma, to Stop the Bleed. I can go on and on. There have just been so many things, so many ways that we are growing as an organization because of Jen's leadership. Our Chromebook rollout, Board of Education, has been a success. As you know, we had a report a couple weeks back, and it will continue to roll out next year at the middle school. Blended learning is alive and well, as you know, our pilot program, our Tiger Learning Lab, and I met this morning with Ms. Fenning, and it is just amazing what is happening in our classrooms thanks to Jen's leadership in that project. Jen is leading the Academic Action Team, also known as 21st Century Learning Action Team, and currently coordinating efforts with our Facilities Action Team to talk about what should school look like in the 21st century. So it's pretty exciting stuff. She's led changes mandated by the ODE through Gifted and Talented, and this year we rolled out Gifted at Bissell, which was a project and done seamlessly. Currently, we're in the middle of state testing, and you wouldn't know it by looking out from the outside, but it has gone off without a hitch, and she's made smart recommendations moving into next year for 3rd grade reading assessments, and we appreciate her efforts there. And of course, in curriculum development, and the leader of our district curriculum and technology committee. So I can go on and on, but I don't have enough time this evening, and you don't only have one binder. So congratulations to Ms. Jennifer Farthing on her recommendation for a contract renewal tonight as well. Mrs. Johnson is not here tonight, and she called me yesterday and she said, I have a dilemma, and I said, what's the dilemma? And her son is running in a track meet for Trinity High School. And so she said, I would really rather be cheering my son if you don't mind. I said, absolutely, your heart is in the right place. So she would be here if it wasn't for the fact that her son is running the 4x4 for the first time ever, and so she's excited to support him in that. But Mrs. Johnson is our principal that dances on the roof and supports all kinds of exciting things that happen. You walk into Bissell and you just feel good about being there. It is an amazing building, and as you know, Board of Education, Mrs. Johnson led the school to become a 2016 Blue Ribbon School by the U.S. Department of Education. Not an easy feat, but it tells you that it's one of the best schools in the nation by what happens there each and every day. Currently, Mrs. Johnson is co-facilitating our safety action team and have had some really good conversations with members of our community about safety and what we should be doing to keep our kids safe here in school. So I appreciate her leadership and all of that. Wish she was here tonight to celebrate with us, but her heart's in the right place as it always is, and we hope her son does very well tonight as well. So congratulations to Mrs. Misty Johnson. Next, we'd like to ask to come forward Mrs. Beth Mariola. As you know, Board, Beth is our supervisor of innovative programs, and boy, is she ever. I have never had the pleasure of working with somebody so enthusiastic about innovation and creation. Again, my conversation with Mrs. Fenning this morning was all about what we're doing with blended learning, but she was so complimentary to Mrs. Mariola, and the fact that she rolls up her sleeves and she gets in with the staff and she models teaching to kids, and she's a great listener and a researcher and looking for the next best here in the school district. Our Chromebook rollout, thanks to Mrs. Mariola and Mrs. Farthing, has gone without a hitch. Mrs. Mariola has been intimately involved in the rollout of makerspaces this year throughout our buildings, has tagged with Mrs. Farthing with our professional development. This year we had the menu system back in October, so well received, and given everybody a choice of what they would like to do. Really was a phenomenal thing and really appreciated by all the members of our staff. Innovation and creation are Mrs. Mariola's middle name, and blended learning is going to be big in our district thanks to her leadership. So congratulations. I recommend Mrs. Mariola, for a contract renewal this evening as well. Congratulations. Next, I'd like to ask up Mrs. Lisa Moore. Mrs. Moore is our wonderful assistant principal at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. And last night during the Honor Corps program, she concluded the program by just complimenting the students. She said, you know, this is the biggest class that they've had at RBC. And when you have that big of a class, you have risks. But the thing about it is Mrs. Moore is all about building relationships. Not only does she have the heart of an educator, she has the heart of a parent. And we have had multiple conversations this year, she and I, just about kids and about what she believes kids need to do and be and have in order to be successful. As a resident here in the community, she worries and thinks about all of our kids and what the school district should be providing for them, not only at RBC, but throughout their careers at the school district. She has a couple of kids here who have graduated and gone on to great things. And Mrs. Moore is leading the charge here with PBIS at the middle school. Last year we were awarded a PBIS Silver Award at RBC, and this year we're going for the gold. And I know today we exchanged a couple emails about a climate survey she's working on. So it's all about relationship. It's all about knowing what people need to feel good about themselves in order to be successful. And so I'm so grateful that you're here as a member of our team, and I recommend Mrs. Moore for a contract renewal this evening as well. Now, Mrs. Moore's partner in crime is Mr. Jim Reese, our principal at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. And the greatest thing about Jim is that he is a person who has the heart of a professional educator, and he spends a great deal of time reading educational research and strategizing how best to make change happen. And you know, Board of Education, in Mr. Reese's time here, the performance level of the students at RBC has really rocketed up. And I think it's because he takes the time to understand the middle level child, understands that they're a little unique, and understands that working with a staff that is supporting that means that you have to provide a lot of support, a lot of professional development, a lot of time in the conversation, and that's what Jim is all about. He is a data-driven administrator, research-based, and he has this brick house philosophy where you know, they're all working together and none of the kids are going to slip through the cracks. And I do really appreciate all that Mr. Reese does, and it is my pleasure to recommend him for contract renewal as our principal at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. Next up is our principal at Wilcox Primary School, Miss Lynn Villa. Lynn is a rock star. As you know, Board of Education, last year she led the charge and our Wilcox Primary School was named an OAESA Hall of Fame school. It is an amazing thing, and it's not an easy task. And Lynn is very reflective on practice. She has built herself a professional network, enjoys the collegial dialogue not only with members of our staff, but she seeks opportunities to build that professional dialogue with her peers in Summit County, Cuyahoga County, and parts elsewhere. She is active in the OAESA and has a leadership role there, is a published author, has just this past winter had an article published about mindful moments. And as you know, at Wilcox, the day begins with the kids listening to a piece by the Cleveland Orchestra and centering themselves so that they can focus on learning. And Lynn is a part of Jen's academic 21st Century Action Team and really does a great job of thinking about what's the next. Through her leadership, we were able to expand our special education programming at Wilcox and, of course, our kindergarten preparatory program. So we appreciate all that Lynn does, and thank you so very much. And I am also recommending Mrs. Villa for a contract renewal this night. Thank you. Next up is Miss Julianne Walker. Julianne, as you know, is one of our 2 assistant principals at George G. Dodge Intermediate School, a real trooper here. She's a pet owner, loves her dog, and maybe the dog does not love her so much, and has actually, Board of Education, done a great job of coming to work, even though she has a little bit of a disability here, has done a great job of being here every single day. The thing about Miss Walker is she is a team builder and a collaborator, and having not so long ago exited the world of a classroom teacher, really understands what it takes to be an educator and how you need to help focus what happens in the classroom. She supports our data effort, is a member of many of our committees here, especially our academic action team, and supporting what is happening with 21st century and learning. We do appreciate all that you do at the Dodge, Julianne, and thank you for being part of our team. And tonight I recommend you for contract renewal as well. Thank you. Next up is our business manager, Mr. Chad Welker. Chad's real name is the Extraordinary Negotiator. It is such a pleasure to collaborate with Chad at Central Office. He is the person behind the scenes to make sure that our district is warm, safe, and dry. So much of what Chad does you don't see because it's behind the roof or under the ground or in places that you wouldn't imagine. Chad is in charge of our permanent improvement fund. He takes a look at our facilities assessment, makes sure that we're paying attention to providing our students with the very best learning environment when it comes to bricks and mortar and technology. He is leading the charge with our facilities action team, and that is an exciting committee because it's talking about what our district will look like as far as bricks and mortar moving into the 21st century. So we're really delighted with what we're seeing there. Chad oversees several of our departments: food service, technology, transportation, athletics, and maintenance and grounds. And he never sleeps. But he is just an extraordinary colleague and really a pleasure. He is the kind of person that has the time to speak to anybody who comes to the door and collaborates with all of us in so many different ways. So it's a pleasure to recommend you this evening for a 3-year renewal of your contract. And rounding up the group is Mr. Scott Winter, our assistant principal at Samuel Bissell Elementary School. Scott is just a tremendous colleague. First and foremost, I find Scott to be a man of integrity. He is the heart of the administrative team, always has a kind word for everybody, and works so well with the support of Mrs. Johnson over at Samuel Bissell Elementary School. Mr. Winter is leading the charge with our PBIS effort with our 2nd and 3rd graders, and has something called the Community of Caring, where he invites staff members to sit down and chat with the kids about things that are important, things about how to be a good person and how to care for one another. And that's an effort that's been going on for several years under Scott's diligent efforts. This year, there's a group called the Change Agents, and the students are walking around the school with sunglasses on, right? They're change agents, get it? And they are recommending things that could happen to make their school better. So Mr. Winter's working with Mrs. Johnson on that. He is a participant on our communications action team with Mr. Sullen, and also had a tremendous part in making sure that Bissell was awarded the 2016 Blue Ribbon Schools Award from the U.S. Department of Education. So congratulations, Mr. Winter. It is a pleasure being your colleague, and I also recommend Mr. Winter this evening for a 3-year contract. Board of Education, they are the force behind what we do. They are a tremendous group of individuals. They are people of integrity, tremendous leaders, and it is my pleasure to recommend this group plus Mrs. Johnson for the renewal of their contracts this evening.
Who'd you guys bring with you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. All right, thank you, Mrs. Powers. Is there any further discussion on I-1, 2, and 3 as read?
No, just, add to the comments from Mrs. Powers. We've made significant progress in the district, and it doesn't happen without people. And the people in the buildings are what make it happen. And we've done a tremendous job in terms of transforming this district into a 21st century learning environment, as well as providing you the tools to do what you need to do. But again, it doesn't happen without the professionals that we hire to get the work done. Twinsburg is known for a tradition of excellence, and you're the reason for that happening. So I will be proud to cast my vote for approval of your contract, and I'm looking forward to continued success and continued excellence in all that you do.
Thank you, and I appreciate Mrs. Powers the background information, because we know not only this crew tonight, but everybody that strives to know every student's story, from the second they step on the bus, in the classrooms, and all the different staff. So we've gotten to know most of you pretty well, and a lot of administrative reports have come and gone. So we appreciate all that hard work. Any further comments? Roll call.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And items I-1, 2, and 3 pass 5-0. Congratulations to those that were involved there. We're going to move on to action items, new business, and J. This is the Ohio High School Athletic Association membership for 2019-2020. J1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the following Board of Education Governing Board Resolution authorizing the 2019-2020 membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association. Whereas the Board of Education Governing Board and its administration desire for the schools with one or more grades at the 7th through 12th grade level under the jurisdiction to be voluntary members of the OHSAA. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education Governing Board, that all schools listed, Twinsburg High School and R.B. Chamberlain School, do hereby voluntarily renew their membership in the OHSAA, and that in doing so, the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, and business rules of the OHSAA are hereby adopted by this board as and for its own minimum student athletic eligibility requirements. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the board reserves the right to raise student athletic eligibility standards as the board deems appropriate for the schools and students under its jurisdiction. And be it further resolved that the schools under the board's jurisdiction agree to conduct their athletic programs in accordance with the Constitution, bylaws, regulations, business rules, interpretations, and decisions of OHSAA, and to cooperate fully and timely with the Executive Director's Office of the OHSAA in all matters related to interscholastic athletic programs of the schools. Furthermore, the schools under this board's jurisdiction shall be the primary enforcers of the OHSAA Constitution, bylaws, regulations, business rules, and interpretations, and the rulings rendered by the Executive Director's Office. The administrative heads of these schools understand that failure to discharge the duty of the primary enforcement may result in fines, removal from tournaments, and suspensions from the membership, and or other such penalties as prescribed by bylaw 11. Moving on to J2, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves a proposal for an overnight extended student trip for the 8th grade students at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School to travel to Washington, D.C., leaving on May 28, 2019, and returning on May 31, 2019. The cost of this trip is being paid in full by the students and is sent to the board under separate cover. 3, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopts the summer reading requirements for the summer of 2019. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 8, 2019, as per the attached exhibit. 4, resolve that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the attached listing of media center items to be deleted from inventory per the attached exhibit. 5, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the primary service agreement with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio effective July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2021 per Ohio Revised Code 3313.843 as sent to the board under separate cover. 6, license agreement with Neola, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the license agreement with Neola, Inc. to provide the template for the board's bylaws, policies, administrative guidelines, and forms, and templates for updates to the bylaws, board bylaws, policies, administrative guidelines, and forms. Cost is $2,450.00 per year as of the date that the agreement is executed, as sent to the board under separate cover. 7, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves an agreement for admission of tuition pupils with the Beechwood Board of Education for admission of one student at the cost of $77,631.22 for the purposes of special education services for the 2018-2019 school year, as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expense. I'm gonna take a drink. Okay. 8, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the adoption of the revised Introduction to Programming course of study offered at Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Technology Committee on April 8th, 2019, and sent to the board under separate cover. 9, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopts and authorizes purchase of Ohio Inspire Science G7 and G8 textbook by McGraw-Hill at the cost of $67,795.25 based on the current enrollment for grades 7 and 8 science courses offered at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. The adoption was sent to the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 8, 2019, and was sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expense. 10, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopts and accepts the donation of Geodes Readable Library. I can say the hard word, but I can't say the services by Great Minds for grade 1 at Wilcox Primary School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 8, 2019. 11, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves participation agreement with the Ohio Association of Chief of Police and Law Enforcement to provide DARE program, Drug Abuse Resistance Education, to the Twinsburg City School District, as sent to the board under separate cover. And finally, 12, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the Twinsburg High School senior Kalia, is that right? Robinson, to exercise Board of Education policy 5111, optional tuition free education, F, and remain a student at Twinsburg High School through the end of the year 2018-2019 school year. Is there a motion for those 12 items as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Curtis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Solera. Rewind a second. Good luck to the students on their trip. So glad we're not talking about the 8th grade trip, but just once. Just one time.
Something happened last year with that?
Something might have happened.
I would like, Mr. Felber,
Yeah.
kudos to our staff for taking it over and
Yes.
dealing with that
Yeah.
and the amount of work to plan it and coordinate it, and all doing so while not funneling any funds into your own pockets, as has occurred in the past. So I
And
appreciate.
They planned it in 36 hours last year. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
it's a lot of work and
6 hours.
definitely well done, and glad that we're doing it in-house.
And just as a matter of note, for those that don't know, Twinsburg has never hired the guides. The teachers believe that they can educate better, and that's not only a savings to the students in the district, but amazing that instead of just relying on some stranger to talk about government and such, it's just amazing that our educators are dedicated and go on this trip and continue the studies with the students. Let's see. Curriculum and Technology's been busy. It's great to see their program keep coming. Mrs. Powers, anything in particular that you want to draw attention to?
No, the agreement with the city is just a
Not there
renewal
yet.
for the DARE program.
Oh, that's the agreement, okay, yeah.
Right, and so it memorializes the fact that we are partners with the city of Twinsburg in bringing the DARE program, most specifically to George G. Dodge.
Excellent. Any further discussion on those 12 items? All right, roll call.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. Those 12 items pass 5-0. Moving on to 13. This is a community reinvestment area agreement with Pepperell and Fuchs, Inc. Whereas the Pepperell and Fuchs, Inc. is planning to construct a 50,000 square foot office building on Darrell Road to house its corporate office, an estimated initial investment of approximately 26,000, is that 20? No, yeah, 26,000 within the boundaries of an existing community reinvestment area. I'm sorry, that's 26 million. There's a couple extra zeros there. I knew the number had to be bigger. Reinvestment area that has been duly created and approved pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Chapter 3735. And whereas the project is expected to be completed by December 2021 and is expected to create a significant amount of full-time and part-time permanent job opportunities with an estimated new annual payroll of $9,700,000. And whereas the company is seeking a tax incentive to assist with financing the expansion by the way of a 50% abatement on the value of the new construction for 12 years, and whereas the City of Twinsburg has provided the board with notice concerning its proposed abatement of the project prior to formal adoption of a resolution approving an abatement by required by Ohio Revised Code Section 5709.83. And whereas the board recognizes the City of Twinsburg encourages economic development within the area designated as a community reinvestment area company, and that the proposed project will benefit the city and the community. Whereas this abatement is subject to revenue sharing agreement with the district in accordance with the income tax revenue sharing agreement with the city. And whereas to the best of its ability, the board desires to cooperate with the city's efforts to promote and encourage economic development while balancing the best interests of the Twinsburg City School District and resulting tax revenues generated from the project. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Twinsburg City School District, Summit County, Ohio, Section 1, in consideration of income tax revenue sharing agreement between the board and the city, the board approves of a 50% real property tax exemption for 12 years under the Community Reinvestment Area Program, and with respect to all real property improvements constructed as part of the project and as described as a tax exempt application submitted by the City of Twinsburg, and approves a community reinvestment agreement between and among the city and the company providing for such real property tax exemption. 2, Section 2, the board finds and determines that all formal actions of this board concerning and relating to this resolution were taken in an open meeting of this board, and that all deliberations of the board and any committees that resulted in those formal actions were in meetings open to the public in compliance with law. Finally, this resolution, Section 3, shall be in force and effective immediately upon adoption. Do I have a motion for 13 as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Slura. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Davis. This is usually the point of a meeting when we're talking about a resolution, that we do a little education. Abatements up into 75%, this board does not have the legal authority to authorize. It's really all with the city. When it were to hit the 75% ratio, which is very, very rare, and I've never seen it, then the school board would actually have a vote. So what we're doing here is acknowledging the efforts of the city as a partner. If some of these areas were not developed, the school board in the district is not receiving any money. So to get a 50% abatement based on our revenue sharing agreement is more money, so we're not actually losing. So we always make these clarifications when these come up, and I'll ask Mr. Slur and Mr. Aho if there's anything particular from the Finance Committee that they'd like to draw attention on these types of matters.
Just to note that this, again, is one of the new abatements that follows our fairly recent revenue sharing agreement with the city. I think it's, 2 or 3 years old now?
Years, yeah.
I know we worked on that for quite a while. And it's a nice, fair, and equitable balance for the city. Allows them to attract new business in, and allows us to recoup some of the potential abatement dollars that we've, given up for that. But to your point, Mr. Felber, one of the things that is the easiest way to think about abatement, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there. 50% abatement on $26 million is more than 100% on a vacant piece of property that's undeveloped.
Right.
So what the district is collecting on that property now, they'll still collect, and they'll only collect, the $26 million building is what's being abated at 50%. So, you're still
gaining. We're
still
not
gaining.
losing, yeah.
You're giving up the potential for dollars. However, it's still more than what we're collecting at this point on that particular piece of property. So that's a big thing that people tend to overlook and not completely understand. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of bring that up again.
And we have a strong partnership not only with the city and the other municipalities, but our Chamber of Commerce, and it's just evidenced by even something as the Academy, where we have 60, 80 plus business partners. So these are opportunities for our students. What are our goals? Enrollment, enlistment, employment. And a company like this with a long standing reputation is going to be a good partner for the city as well as the district. Any further, Mr. Aho?
And one of the other things too is these abatements do eventually terminate.
Right.
So, after the company gets in and does their reinvesting and invests in the property and that, eventually those things terminate, and then, we get the 100%.
Right, absolutely. Other good points. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. And 13 passes 5-0. Moving on to 14. Resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education adopt and purchase microbiology and introduction 13th edition textbook at the cost of $6,009.60 based on the current enrollment of microbiology course offered at the Twinsburg High School. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on April 8, 2019, as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a permanent improvement expenditure. Do I have a motion for 14 as read?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Curtis. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. DeFabio. Anything to add from curriculum technology that you didn't already report on?
Pretty exciting stuff.
Microbiology, very small but important things. Roll call, please.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes. If we can't have fun. All right. Very important. So we are at miscellaneous, and as I alluded in my president's report, I didn't want to steal Superintendent Powers' thunder on the great, but congratulations to Mr. Asti and to our mathematicians. Names are, I should have them in front of me, but I don't. But that's excellent work, and we're circling the runway, as you've been known to say. Bring the ship down pretty soon, and congratulations in advance to the graduating class and the students that are going to be our newest Tigers, a class of 2032. That just blows my mind. So, anything else further from miscellaneous for tonight from anyone?
Just a congratulations, Superintendent Powers. You mentioned it, Mr. Curtis. You mentioned it in your comments as well. But we're a team here. The board can authorize and approve expansions and things like that. But dollars don't make it happen. It's you guys out there that make it happen. So congratulations again, and looking forward to the next 3 years and what you guys bring and help move this district forward. And secondly, was at the Honor Corps ceremony last night. As Superintendent Powers said, 172 eighth graders, and that moved fairly quickly. Was a very well put together program. I thought the entrance was quite interesting. All the students marched in, had little lights and music playing. It was good. It's amazing to see that many students, which is almost 50%, roughly about 42, 45% maybe of the class. So there's about 360 kids or something in the class. So it's amazing to see that many kids there up on the stage. The kids, that was. They had enjoyment. You could see as they were walking across. That was kind of the first big recognition that they got to have in front of a large crowd. So that goes to everybody in that building that's helping get those kids, you know, the advancement that they're getting, and you know, setting them up for success as they graduate and move on to high school next year. So thank you for that. That was a great program and great accomplishments.
Excellent. Anything further, miscellaneous?
Well, shout out to our athletics. Been paying attention. Our baseball team is burning it up. Track, tennis. I'm sure I'm missing some
Softball?
softball. Yeah, but awesome. I mean, I'm loving reading the headlines or seeing the tweets every day, and it's all success. So we're having a lot of fun, but we're doing very well out there. So continuing to wish our Tigers the best of luck moving forward.
All right. Anything further?
One other thing. Earlier this morning, Board, I received a phone call from Mr. Joe Roberts. Mr. Roberts is the board president for the OHSA Board of Directors. Recall that last week I made comments on behalf of the Lady Tiger soccer team in front of the Board of Directors. Mr. Roberts asked me to relay a message to the board this evening to let you know that his board is going to take a look at the remonstrance comments, do its own consideration, and will provide in writing to you its own findings. Hopefully that will happen in May in their work session, and then the written report is expected in June. So he said obviously that doesn't change the end result of the soccer season, but clearly some of the things that we have brought to light in regard to how things were investigated and how the game was played that night bodes an opportunity for them to really take a look at improving as an organization. So he wanted to make sure that you understood that they were taking our concerns seriously at the board level and to expect a written report from the board in June. So I appreciated that, and we look forward to hearing what they have to say.
All right,
Thank you for that update. Anything further? All right, board does have need for executive session, so I will make the motion that the Board of Education enters into executive session at 8:40 to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees as per Board of Education Policy 0166A, and to review negotiations with public employees concerning the compensation and or other terms and conditions of employment per the Board of Education Policy 0166E, and to discuss specialized details of security arrangements where disclosure might reveal information that could jeopardize the district's security as per the Board of Education Policy 0166G. I've made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Davis. Roll call?
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Solera?
Yes.
Mr. Curtis?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFabio?
Yes.
And the board is now in executive session. We do not anticipate further business when we reconvene. And have a good evening.